Having taken a look at various dash camera options on the channel covering both single and dual camera options, if you're a cab driver and need to record inside of the vehicle, then this may very well work for you, the AKASO Trace 1. There are a couple of dual camera systems on the market, although these tend to record directly out the front and rear of the vehicle. Not very helpful should you need to record inside the vehicle, be it for your own security or even for capturing those long road trips with friends. For those scenarios, AKASO could very well have you covered with their Trace 1 system. Although there's not much within the package, we've got the basics: a quick reference guide, a power cable to attach to your vehicle's power socket, a suction cup mount for attaching the unit to the windscreen, a shorter USB sync cable and cable clips, a prying tool useful for lifting trim and tucking the cable neatly away inside the vehicle, and finally the camera unit itself. Plastic in construction and matte black in colour so as to not attract unwanted attention, at 3 inches on its longest side, the unit is a little larger than some others we've taken a look at previously, although it's still lightweight. Alongside some branding on the front, we find the f1.8 lens capable of capturing 1080p HD footage with a nice large 170-degree field of view. When used alone, the lens can capture at a smooth 60 frames per second, although when used in dual camera mode, this drops to 30 frames per second instead, which is still more than adequate for smooth video capture. Talking of second cameras, rather than attaching to a second unit, the additional camera can be found on the rear of the same unit. Sporting the same f1.8 1080p lens and the same large 170-degree field of view, this second camera is accompanied by 4 infrared LEDs helping to capture a clear image inside of the vehicle, where it's generally slightly darker. Both lenses incorporate Sony's Starvis image sensors, providing high sensitivity performance suitable for low light filming. We'll see how this performs later. Otherwise, we have a nicely sized 2-inch display on the rear for viewing live and recorded footage. This is not touch sensitive though. Instead, we find 4 buttons just below with a reset pinhole, which we'll use to navigate menus and set options, all providing a satisfying tactile click when pressed. Alongside these, we find heat dissipation holes for the rear camera, which is replicated on the top for the front lens too. Also on the top we have our mini USB power input, used with the included cable to power the unit. That just leaves the sides, one of which incorporates the unit's built-in speaker, and the other houses the microphone input, the main power input, although the unit will switch on automatically when power is supplied via the USB port, and finally the micro SD memory card slot, where a Class 10 card of up to 128GB in capacity can be inserted. As mentioned, the camera starts up and starts recording automatically when power is applied, with lots of useful information on display around the outer edge of the screen, such as current settings, mode, and so on. As stated, the screen isn't touch sensitive, so we need to use the buttons to navigate around, but saying that, it is rather easy. 2 settings menus are available, one for video capture settings, which include options like resolution, loop settings, G-sensor settings, and so on, and a second menu which incorporates general camera settings, all quite simple to navigate and use. Another point to note, back on the main screen we have a single button which allows us to switch between dual camera recording, so recording outside and inside the vehicle, and single camera recording, which also switches the capture to 60 frames per second at the same time. Note that the camera does incorporate a built-in battery which will charge in the background and provide around 20 minutes of usage in parking mode, useful for those short stops during longer journeys. When it comes to mounting the device, that's easy too thanks to the included suction cup mount supplied within the package. Using the included prying tool, we can remove the rubber mounting port cover, where we can now insert the suction cup mount, and finish it off by reinserting the rubber cap. A few needless extra steps, but shows AKASO's attention to details with this design. Finally, connect up to your vehicle's power socket with the included lengthy power cable. It's as simple as that. Left alone, the system will continue to record in the background, and when it comes to video quality, it's actually quite decent. Not the absolute best I've come across, although I'm not expecting GoPro camera quality here, but it's enough to make out good levels of detail in the image. Colours are all there and are relatively true to life, no major concerns there, although I would like to have seen things a tad sharper across the board. Nevertheless, there's no issue picking up details such as vehicle number plates for instance, so easily enough to get the job done. When it comes to the rear camera, I would have expected a more colourful image rather than one that completely lacks colour, even under bright external conditions. Nevertheless, thanks to the wide viewing angle, you do capture everything within the vehicle, perfect for cab drivers who need the extra security, and like the front, it's easily enough to get the job done. Naturally, the more light you can throw at the lens the better, and when it comes to low light, the Sony Starvis lens technology does a pretty decent job. You'll still get grain in the image no matter what, but low light footage is still easily usable thanks to street lighting, which certainly helps. Enough to make out some detail in the image and perfectly adequate should you ever need to refer back to the footage at any time. The internal camera of course has those infrared LEDs too, considering there's no extra lighting to help the lens here. It's perfectly adequate to make out faces and provide perfectly usable footage though. A cab driver for instance would have no problems with video capture of a customer attack for instance, which is the main goal of this second camera, and in that regard it performs really well. All in all, this is a pretty decent unit that contains all the basics. It's quick to set up, easy to use, and does the job pretty well with decent quality and nice wide angle capture. A sharper image would have been nice, as would a more colourful image from the rear camera in bright conditions, but quality is still perfectly adequate for a unit in the sub $100 price range. If you drive a cab or simply want to record your family or friends road trip while retaining a dashcam configuration at the same time, then the AKASO Trace 1 is a perfectly capable unit that comes well recommended.